All right, let's do this. Let's begin our implementation of the natural language processing, branch of machine learning, but more specifically of an NLP model made for sentiment analysis. All right, so as usual, we're going to start as much efficiently as we can. We're going to use our data preprocessing template, which I've of course prepared for this implementation, which contains, the codes to import the libraries and import the dataset. So let's quickly start with the libraries here. I'm going to take them. I'm going to paste that right here in a new code cell to indeed import the essential libraries, just in case we need them. It doesn't mean that we will necessarily use all of them, but at least we have them in case we need them, okay? Then importing the dataset, let's create a new code cell. And now, according to you, do I have to take all the lines of code here or just this one to get the dataset? Well, as you might guess, now we're going to do some different kind of data preprocessing, and therefore we'll just take this line of code to indeed import the reviews inside still a dataset variable, but then you will see that there will be a certain work needed before creating these two features. We will indeed create these two features at some point, the matrix of features and the dependent variable, but not now. This is too early. We will have to clean the text first and prepare the bag of words model. And in fact, we will create these two entities, the matrix of features and the dependent variable vector, in the cell where we create the bag of words model. Okay, so let's just take this for now, the data set, and back into our NLP implementation. Let's paste that right here. And now, indeed, we have to adapt this a little because now we're not dealing with a CSV file, we're dealing with a TSV file where the features, meaning the text and the binary variable 0 or 1, are separated by a tab instead of a comma. So first thing first, let's replace this dataset by the right name. You notice that I even included the extension because we'll have to change it. So the name of our dataset, let's have a look again, is restaurantreviews.tsv. All right, so that's exactly what we'll replace here, restaurant_reviews.tsv. Okay, and now, since it is a TSV, we'll have to add some extra parameters to specify that indeed we're dealing with a TSV file instead of a comma separated value file, CSV. All right, and the way to do this is just to add one parameter here, which is delimiter, all right, for which the default value is actually the comma, meaning that the default data set that we can import with this read_CSV is indeed CSV. But, we can also use this read_CSV function to import a TSV file. And that's exactly what we're about to do now. But the way to specify that we're dealing with a TSV file is to enter the following value for this delimiter parameter, which is, in quotes, this slash here, backslash, and T. All right, that's the value of the delimiter you should enter to specify that your dataset is a TSV file. But then that's not all. We need to add one final parameter, a very important one when you're working with text. I'm going to show you something now in not this data set because we couldn't see the whole reviews, but I'm going to show you the whole data set inside the folder, Machine Learning A to Z, which you could download once again in the article right before this tutorial. So let's open it. Let's go into part 7 NLP, then NLP again, and Python, and that's the whole data set. So I'm on Mac here, so I'm going to open it with a classic text editor, like TextEdit, perfect. We just need to have a look at the text quickly. So there we go. And now I'm just going to do a command or, Control F to find something, which is a double quote, just like that, okay? And as we can see that we have many double quotes within the text, all right? And in order to process this the right way, when our machine learning models learn how to read text, well, we'll have to say to our model to ignore the double quote. Otherwise, if you don't do it, this can cause some processing or parsing errors, which you want to avoid, because this can lead to an execution error. So I always recommend to add this quoting parameter and set its value to 3, which means actually no quotes or, ignore the quotes, so that indeed you can be free from processing errors. You can see there are many quotes, right? So we're just going to ignore all of them as if, they're just some different characters in the text. All right, so that's all I wanted to show you. So now let's close this and let's go back to our implementation and to add this final parameter, we need to add here quoting equals, and the value of this quoting parameter to ignore all the double quotes is 3. All right, and now perfect. That's how you import correctly a TSV file, which should be the format of a data set separating text and a binary outcome like 0 or 1. That's the classic way to proceed with sentiment analysis. So there we go. Well, actually, let's import the data set to make sure everything's all right. So we're going to click this folder here. Then it's going to take a little time, a few seconds to connect this notebook to a runtime to enable file browsing. But in a second, we should see that upload button here to indeed upload, there we go, the dataset. So let's click it. And now please find your machine learning A to Z folder on your machine, which you had to download either in the previous tutorial or at the beginning of each section. So now let's go inside. Let's go once again into part 7, natural language processing, then this section, then Python, and then restaurant-reviews.tsv. Let's click open, let's click OK, and now we're going to have the dataset inside the notebook. All right, perfect. So now let's run the cells. First, this cell where we import the libraries, so simple one, and now this cell where we import the dataset. Let's do this. Let's make sure everything goes well, and there we go. Now we have the dataset ready. So that means we're ready for the next step, cleaning the text. That's an essential step in natural language processing. I will show you all the techniques to make your text as clean as possible, and we will do all this in the next tutorial. Until then, enjoy machine learning.